The agenda will begin with an executive director's report.
Sure. So the only item I've got is the budget approval. Budget is fairly straightforward. We're a biennial budget agency. For those who haven't dealt with it much before, that means that we are on a 2-year cycle. The first year we approve the current year budget and then 2 out years. And then the second year we essentially just approve changes to that current year and the 1 further year. So we already have an approved budget. This is just identifying changes to that budget. That's the only thing that really we do here. And that's all the legislature typically handles. So in terms of changes, in fiscal 24, we're not actually that's the current year. We're not requesting any changes from the approved amount. We do have some changes within account codes. So for example, the Kogel Ethics Conference this year is actually in Kansas City, which is great. It means that we don't have to pay for flights and we can send some more people, but that means that the cost from the flight is being reapportioned to cost for another attendee. So I think Caitlin and I are planning to attend at least, and we'll see. I'm hoping to be able to have more staff there as well. So there is a slight change on the enhancement detail. We'll talk about that in a minute, but otherwise the fiscal 24 budget is not a change. In 25, we have some littler changes. We have some IT expenses that have gone up. We have some IT fees that have gone up. The largest of that problem is the Westlaw rate has gone up rather substantially. And then we also have some other fees because the monumental building surcharge has gone up. That's a rate that any state agency who has an office in this area pays a certain rate per square foot. It went up to $3.30 per square foot. So that's we now pay just a little bit more in 25. On the page 2, you'll see that there's a technical enhancement. We're required to ask for this as a technical enhancement, even though it had really nothing to do with us. When the last year's 5% statewide raise went into effect, the legislature did not appropriate enough funding from the state general fund to cover that amount for all agencies. And so what they did is they took an amount from all SGF funded agencies to cover the shortfall. It's my understanding, and they've made multiple statements to this effect at this point, that the very first bill or one of the very first bills in this next session is going to be to provide for the shortfall to resolve it. But we have to technically ask for it. So we were cut $3,664 that I anticipate will come back at the beginning of this next session. We do have some additional changes. The budget's not actually due until the middle of September, which is before our next meeting, but we're still awaiting some information from OITS about some IT costs on telecom and data services. We've had some questions about some expenses from 23 that we're trying to make sure we're accounting for if there's been a rate change that we weren't aware of. And you have the funding source detail there. You see, as in every year, most of our budget comes from the state general fund, but we do have a substantial portion from a fee fund as well. So that's really it. You have the full budget breakdown if it's something you're interested in. I always like the nuance of it myself, but it's all there if you have any questions on page 3. For me, my request would be a motion to, after resolving any questions anyone has, a motion to adopt the budget, including the ability to adjust as needed to account for those OITS expenses and any technical adjustments. I think that there's a benefit percentage difference in 25 that I have to account for as well. So
regardless of where your money comes from, though, it has to be approved by the legislature.
Yes, our fee fund is a no limit fund, as most fee funds are at this point. But yes, we still request the specific approval and we stay within our budgetary plan.
Okay.
Even though we could exceed the fee fund limitation by law, we do not do that as a matter of course. Does anyone have any questions about the budget?
Did you have to make any adjustments with the change in funding?
A little bit. The 3,664 that was cut from this year, we didn't have to make any changes to, because if they don't provide it, I
was thinking in terms of, I thought the legislature changed it so that it used to be that our fees would come back to the commission, but now it goes to the general fund.
Correct. So
it really doesn't make any difference. That's the fee fund is more of an accounting mechanism than it is a budgetary mechanism, because you can't spend from the fee fund unless the legislature approves it.
So the fee fund has several sources of funds. It has candidate fees, PAC fees, lobbyist registration fees. Those still go to the fee fund. Civil penalties still go to the fee fund. The only thing that's a change is that civil fines no longer go to the fee fund. So when we have a hearing and there's a fine assessed, that when that's paid, it goes to the state general fund. Any projected loss from that, however, the PAC registration rate was increased to accommodate for that. So we actually, on the back end, on the revenue side of the fee fund, we are going to see an impact to that. So
that's a change that actually took away that kind of discomfort at funding ourselves.
Yes.
Increased penalties, but has not affected our budget really at all.
that is correct.
Any questions? If not, I will take a motion to approve.
I'd move we approve the budget.
With the ability to adjust as indicated, if that's okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a second?
I would second that. This is Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle. Any additional discussion? All in favor of approving the motion to approve the budget with the ability to make minor adjustments as necessary, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
I think you're up next.
The motion passes.
Subcommittee chair.
Turning back to the agenda, we have a subcommittee update from regarding civil penalty waivers.
Yes, the subcommittee met with staff. Staff presented kind of their historic approach on where the issues have been and putting together a form. Also some private discussion about maybe some commission intention as to prioritizing different times when penalties may be more meaningful, such as near election time might be something that we come back with. But I think Jane had a nice graphic that she had put together with a strike zone. Saying this is strikes, and then we have balls on the outside. And I don't know.
I'm trying to pull it up to share.
I need my multimedia presentation here. I got the fog machine going. The idea is we're going to meet again with staff and probably meet as a subcommittee too, and then have something to present either the next one or the next meeting. And we've preserved the catch-all just in case, but also are trying to envision it in a manner that it doesn't create the never-ending forlorn hope too.
Great.
Jane?
So Jane is
There we
sharing.
go.
Did it come up? I shared
Yes.
it.
Yeah, we can see it. So
But very
Can't
broad,
read it,
very broad brush.
So medical circumstances, financial hardship, theft or natural disaster, unique circumstances outside of the strike zone. Yeah, a lot of the common excuses we've received. So you're drawing that distinction. And so we'll eventually see this represented in a form of some kind.
Yes.
You mean other than my quick little PDF graphic here? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
This is actually the form.
Credit where credit goes. Our committee member Kyle Kroll actually thought of the strike zone analogy, so we went with it.
Yeah, it works.
We had a great discussion with staff and among everyone. I think we covered a lot of ground on it, and I think this graphic does a nice job of illustrating that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
We'll report something substantive later.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a lot more detail to work out, but this kind of summarized where we are right now.
Yep, we're heading in the right direction. Thank you, everyone, for your work on the subcommittee and staff for your participation. I think that this is a helpful endeavor, and so we'll look forward to an update at the next meeting. Any additional questions on this issue before we move on? Turning back to the agenda, we have some civil penalties to go through. Director Scoblin?
Pretty straightforward. This is just notice of civil penalties. For the amended October 22 report, William Barajas, a treasurer for 300, Jose Cabrera, a candidate for 300. For an amended January 2023 report, William Barajas for 300, Becky Billigmeyer for 300, Jose Cabrera 300, Nicholas Riddell for 50, Janet Waugh for 300. For a late appointment of treasurer foreman 2023, Alex DiCarlo for 100. For a late July 24th report, Jacob Back for 350, Joshua Basley for 150, Sierra Cheney for 500, Alex DiCarlo for 500, Anthony Gallardo for 1,000, Scott Hamblin for 1,000, Cece Harlan, candidate for 2 different offices for 1,800 total, Connor Knightley for 1,000, Wayne Molt Jr. for 500, Ann Rollins for 350, Patricia Torres for 1,000, Matthew Wells for 350, Lawrence Wills for 1,000. Then on the next page, we've got PACs for an amended January 10th, 2023 report, Michael Augustine for 300, Neil Deidecker for 300. For committee registration, we've got Gerald Briscoe for 30, Jeff Robinson for 30, Jonathan Westbrook for 30. That's all the civil penalties.
Great.
And we have no order request today.
Do any commissioners have any questions for Director Skoglund about any of the civil penalties assessed? The next item on the agenda is letters of caution for missing attributions.
So historically, when we had a paid for issue where someone had almost always inadvertently messed up a paid for attribution, they either left, they had the wrong text on it, a printer left something off, they didn't realize something needed a paid for attribution. The commission's historical practice has always been to give a first time waiver, but the way that they asked is that we would contact them, request that they submit a writing, essentially requesting relief, requesting a waiver. However, the commission provided this in every instance. And we always, whenever we have that initial interaction with them, we already resolve the underlying issue. We make sure that they're aware of the law. We make sure they're aware that they don't get a second violation, that if it happens again, then they will have a complaint in front of us. So we have 2 that received we just sent a letter of caution to Philip Arbuckle, a candidate for Olathe City Council, for some text messages that required a paid for attribution. And then Carol Merritt, a candidate for Overland Park City Council, for some letters and mailers that required a paid for attribution that did not have it. Both of them resolved the issue quickly. It was never really an issue, as with most of these. It was something that has been resolved, but that's the course. There's no need for a motion or anything like that.
Do any commissioners have questions of Director Skoglund? If there are none, the next item on the agenda is executive session. And so for this first session, Director Skoglund, how much time do you believe we need?
You've seen the materials. It's whatever you think.
I mean, is this the kind of thing where you think we'll need to enter into session again at a certain interval of time? What is a reasonable interval of time?
We have 2 sessions.
Yeah, we do have 2 executive sessions today. So for the first one, do we want to start with 10 minutes and just see where we're at? And if people want more time, we can ask for it at that point.
Sure.
Okay.
I have 1:14 right now. Let's take it to
Actually,
2:20.
before you name a time though, before we go into executive session with our 2 counsel here, I'm trying to understand the statutes and how they all fit together with, investigations and all the different varieties of things that can be done. If you can explain to us, what each of those steps are, and then what our burdens are in reviewing material.
Are you talking about the different steps on a complaint, or are you talking about the investigatory stage?
In both.
Okay. So I think that on an investigatory stage, it depends on what the underlying issue is. For example, when we issue subpoenas, the underlying issue, there has to be reasonable suspicion of a crime under those, or a violation of the laws that has occurred under that act. For a complaint, then our first step is sufficiency, which is essentially a motion to dismiss that the complaint is properly drafted. It states a violation that's under our laws. After that is a probable cause stage, which is similar to the generally accepted probable cause standard. And then if the probable cause is found after that, it would be set for a hearing at that point. So that's the complaint process. And then investigations Typically, we're either providing you notice of an investigation that's happening or discuss, sometimes there's details about an investigation that's discussed in executive session. Generally speaking, we're talking about something like a subpoena, which is fairly not uncommon in these situations. So that just
require commission approval,
yes.
and the commission approval is based off of
KSA 254158D is the specific part of the statute that authorizes the commission.
which requires us to make a finding of fact and conclusion of law
Yes, yes.
based off of.
And they have the findings of fact conclusive law in the documents.
Right, I've read the documents, but it is supposed to be based off of like affidavits or other evidence.
We are not subject necessarily to the evidentiary requirements of civil procedure, and CAPA, in fact, is even less so. And our regulations are the same. We're not subject to those type of evidentiary rules. The decision will be made based on the information presented to you. So all of the evidentiary documents that are attached to the pleadings.
Okay, well, I was trying to understand them, the statutes.
Yeah.
And there are some statutes that say either facts or upon information and belief.
It's perhaps best that if this conversation is heading into substance about what is in the executive session, that
No,
Okay.
it's really just the format of what it is we're supposed to be looking at.
I just don't want to inadvertently disclose anything that's in executive
Right.
session in open session.
And I don't want to discuss general matters in executive
Right.
session.
Yes, I'm just trying to help keep that
I hear you.
boundary as well. I'm with you.
Is our executive session, this first one, to include staff?
Yes.
The first one has staff, the second one does not.
Yeah,
Well, the second one has page.
So all of our staff will be here, including the men, current general.
For the first.
Right. Right.
If I may
So-
ask a question, a follow-up question, kind of along those same lines, with regards to the letters of caution, Mark, reading that statute clearly identifies the conduct as a Class C misdemeanor. Is there any criminal action that's taken regardless of the letters that you're sending out, or when is that done and how is that prosecuted?
It's always theoretically possible that a district attorney or county prosecutor could choose to chase down the misdemeanor for failure for the paid for violations. In reality, I have never known that to ever occur. And even in circumstances where we find violations and recommend further prosecution, it's exceedingly rare that a county prosecutor even calls us back with their to discuss the
And we
referral.
don't send the recommendation to the prosecuting.
Not on
with the
those,
letter,
correct.
letter of caution.
Right. The letter of caution is not it's not a hearing or anything like that. Yes, that's correct.
So back on my question though, for each of the steps, is there a distinction that we're to draw between a finding of fact and then a finding based upon information and belief for investigations or complaints or the different options that are out there?
You would take the facts similar to like civil procedure, true, as I'm trying to think of the language, viewed in the light most favorable to the filing party. Our statutes don't say, they're not very clear on, they don't lay out how you view the initial pleadings. So falling back on the rules of civil procedure, as a complaint is filed, that's where I'm deferring to for judicial guidance. As a court review a pleading filed as being true, viewed in the light most favorable to the responding party.
To the responding or the filing?
Filing party, excuse me. Yes, thank you for that. Does that kind of give you, is that what you're asking?
No, I was just trying to make sense of the statute.
Yeah.
And it didn't really make a great amount of sense with the different, and we're making findings of fact.
Sure.
But then there's a different part of the statute that says either make findings of fact or you can rely on just information and belief. And it all came up. I was in a hearing. I attended a hearing early, and I watched Judge Vano, have a conversation with a lawyer in a different case about an opinion that had come out and said affidavits that are upon information and belief or to the best of a party's knowledge are actually invalid for reliance for factual purposes, which was news to me. I didn't realize that. And as I read through the statutes, I'm like, this is bizarre. So, but we don't really And I'm throwing you in a,
Where's that language you're talking about, I guess? Where in the statute?
I was reading through the revised bill that came out. So I have no idea.
Okay.
You know what the number of the bill was?
Whatever got passed
Okay, all right.
this last
We
session.
can look at the statutes that apply in executive, and if that comes up, IDJ, or we'll discuss it then.
Yeah, I don't anticipate probably much concern about facts being unsupported.
No, I
Or- or-
don't think that would be an issue.
I don't think that'll be an issue in this, but it's good for us to police this and make sure that we're on top of it as
Yeah.
well.
Thanks for
Yeah.
pointing that out, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have 122 right now. Let's go to 133. Kyle, if you can do us the honors.
Yes, this is a motion for executive session 1. I move that the commission recess this open meeting to executive session with staff members Paige Quintana Paget, Mark Skoglund, and Caitlin Bull Stewart present, and conflict counsel Jay Rodriguez present, to discuss matters related to confidential investigations pursuant to KSA 25-4165 and for good cause as provided by KAR 19-6-2. Justification for recess to executive session is to consult with the attorney for the commission, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship pursuant to KSA 75-4319, subparagraph B, subparagraph 2. The open meeting shall be resumed here at 1:33 p.m.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. Any additional discussion? All in favor of approving the motion to enter into executive session signify by saying aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion passes. Mark, let me know when you're ready.
You all can grab the doors real quick. I'll wait until the stream officially stops.
This one has to go through.
Okay.
Okay. You want me to read it again, or you just want me to say
No, I think-
ditto and give another time?
You can, 10 minutes, and I think you can incorporate.
Let's
what you
say
said.
1:45.
Yeah,
Okay. I hereby repeat verbatim my motion previously made for this executive session 1 till
Second.
1:45 p.m.
To
Second.
1:45. The
Aye.
motion has been seconded. Any additional discussion? All in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion passes.
And try to fix the live stream so we can,
well, Mr. Chairman,
that's gonna be.
I would move that we approve the executive director's
Wait.
application that we handled in executive session.
Hang on.
Hold that thought. Let us know when we're back public.
We're back public.
Well, there's live, we're working on,
No.
since that's an actual motion, I want to get it on the live stream without me having to do video editing.
But yeah.
Tell me when you're ready.
Gotta love tech.
Ready? Yeah.
It's fine. I'll just have to video edit it. We have a recording, so
Okay. So,
Mr. Chairman,
there it goes. It's fixed.
I'd move we approve the executive director's application discussed in executive session.
thank you, Commissioner Solbach. Do I have a second?
Second, this is Jane.
Thank you, Jane. Any additional discussion?
I think actually the motion is the action concerning the application, not the application itself.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to reflect that language. Jane?
Yes.
The motion accurately stated is a motion to approve the action pertaining to Executive Director Skoglund's underlying application as discussed in executive session. Okay.
Yes.
And it has been seconded. Any additional discussion? All in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, say nay. Thank you. The motion is passed. we have another executive session to enter into.
We want to
Um,
approve the minutes.
What's that?
The minutes.
Oh, sure. We'll take a motion now to approve all agendas and minutes discussed in executive session.
I'd
So
renew that
moved.
motion.
Thank you, Jerry. Jane will second. Any additional discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda and minutes as discussed in executive session signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed say nay. The motion passes. Director Skoglund, how much time do you believe we need for this second session?
You've seen the materials. I don't know what you
15.
think.
15 minutes.
You think 15?
15? I have 1:48. Let's take ourselves to
One second.
2:05.
I'm
Wait,
still processing all this Cora coma kind of stuff. So in this particular session, we'll have our AG council present, but we also are going to have our director from the office present. Aren't you going to stay?
Yeah,
Right,
she's just taking minutes.
yeah, I'm just taking minutes.
right. I understand that, but in the same manner, I mean, it's still the same office, still an individual who reports to the executive director.
But we have to have someone who takes the minutes.
The issue is avoiding an ex parte communication. And so it'd be,
I'd say the AG would take the minutes, just so that H doesn't have to.
Minutes might not be required, if it's a presentation of legal advice, but that's up to you.
Oh, okay.
I thought we had to have minutes for all executive sessions.
Well, you would document that, the legal advice was given.
And that's,
And that'd be, yeah.
we did.
I mean,
Mhm.
We just have no minutes for executive session.
A little concerned about that, given the first few items on the agenda there in case. I mean,
Again, I'm thinking in terms of appearances. We have a person who reports to you.
The
who's
issue-
Sitting in the room.
the issue is ex parte communications, though. I mean, if I'm a complainant and I'm represented by Caitlin,
Right.
we're not in there so that we're not making statements to the commission on
So
an
we
issue
would
where,
make those minutes and we would allow other people to listen in. If it's just a question of the content of it,
it's not so much about,
the substance of your
Preserving
advice, isn't it?
confidentiality. It's the fact that they're representing one side of a
Right.
legal dispute. She's not one of those representatives.
Right.
She's not a party to the dispute, even though she has an association with the party,
Could other individuals sit in and take minutes?
if we allowed them to.
yeah, it's discretionary call.
Yeah.
From the commission.
Okay.
I'm fine with Paige being in and taking the minutes.
It had nothing to do with Paige. It has to do with.
No, I
can use your name for that matter.
I understand your position, but you know, she's a scrivener. That's her role here.
Any other thoughts? Any commissioners, any objections to Paige taking the minutes in this executive session?
It's not a vote on Paige.
Clear.
Not on that roll.
Mhm. Is Kyle gonna make the motion?
Honestly, I don't think a motion's been made.
Would
Well-
this would be the motion executive session 2 format, yes?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Uh,
And
let's
Until
go to
when?
2:07.
2:07. I move that the commission recess this open meeting to executive session with staff member Paige Quintana Paget present and conflict counsel Jay Rodriguez present to discuss matters related to confidential investigations pursuant to KSA 25-4165 and for good causes provided by KAR 19-6-2. Justification for recess to executive session is to consult with the attorney for the commission, which would be deemed be privileged in the attorney-client relationship pursuant to KSA 75-4319 subparagraph B subparagraph 2. The open meeting shall be resumed at 2:07 p.m.
Thank you, Commissioner Kroll. Do I have a second?
Second,
Thank you, Jane. Any additional discussion?
My only discussion is just the concern of of an appearance with regard to an ethical commission and a representative of the complainant being present in the room, whether it be clerical or otherwise.
Okay,
And to add to that, I think that based on the nature of this commission, we should try to do everything that we can to be compliant with ethics. So, I mean, I do share in that same concern. I mean, for what that's worth.
yeah. Well, if anybody has any solutions to suggest on how we, hold ourselves to the highest possible standard and at the same time,
I'm ready to take minutes.
okay. Commissioner Berger is volunteered to take minutes, and perhaps we'll see how it works. Is this okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
If
So
that's
now
the case, we should amend
Now
the.
you need
we
a
should
new
amend the
motion and a new time, Kyle.
Just
What-
amend. your
Director
motion
Skoglund,
by
what were you
excluding
saying?
Page. Just amend
I
your
was thinking
motion
we
by
need a new
excluding
motion.
Page.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. What did you say,
Just a-
Commissioner Solbach?
Amend your motion by excluding Page and note that Chris Berger is going to be taking minutes.
Okay,
For
and
John's
Jane,
review. interval.
you're in support of that amended motion?
We need to change the time.
Yes, I am, but I think you need to change your time now.
Well, we
2:10.
have 1:53. Let's just take ourselves to 2:10. Is this okay, Kyle?
Yes, I am in favor of the amendment and the revision to the timeframe.
Okay.
So is the
2:10.
second.
All in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed say nay. The motion passes.
Let me stop the stream and then I'll leave too.
Director Skoglund, let me know when you're ready.
Sorry.
And I steal all your forms, Paige. No forms. Oh. Got to homebrew this whole thing, so you're telling me.
Yeah, like moonshine or kombucha. Kombucha.
Okay, live stream is back.
Okay, returning to open session, the commission needs to take a couple actions. Do any commissioners wish to make a motion as it pertains to a sufficiency finding in complaints 748, 750, 753, and 754?
Mr. Chairman, I would move we find all those complaints sufficient.
Okay, do any commissioners second that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Is there any additional discussion on the motion to find sufficiency? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion passes. The next item we have to take an action on is a motion with respect to an application made by the executive director.
Can I
Do we
need-
pause? Can I pause you? Paige, are you taking minutes now that we're back in open session?
It's fine.
Okay.
I've got it. We're good.
We've got the.
I've got it.
video.
And
Okay.
I mean, I've got text. We're good.
Thank you.
I would move that we approve that application, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Solbach. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Any additional discussion on the motion to approve the director's application? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed say nay. The motion passes. Before we conclude today's meeting, Director Skoglund, is there anything else we need to discuss?
No, stay cool. It's 101 degrees out there right now.
Yeah. Do any commissioners have any items they wish to discuss?
It's 76 in Gunnison, Colorado. Just saying.
You
Stick a
didn't need,
sock in it, Jane, stick a sock in
you
it.
didn't need to tell us that.
So just for the next meeting, if we could have staff just report to us a little bit on not specifics, I'm not adding to workflow, but just generally what you do as reminders to people
Oh,
Send-
yes, I was going to do that for the next subcommittee meeting, but we can do it in the full committee if you'd rather.
Yeah, just next time.
Yeah, that'd be great.
With the general idea being, I know that, there's always the press of more work to be done. And since no one's actually allowed to rely on what the office, sends them, then if there's maybe some steps we could take to diminish that burden, I'd be okay with that.
Great,
I can do that.
noted. Thank you. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, Jane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Schoniford is with the second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the motion to adjourn signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion passes. This concludes today's meeting of the Kansas Governmental Ethics Commission. Our next meeting will be in 5 weeks on September 27th. Thank you again, everyone, for your participation.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day.
Bye all.
Bye-bye. Bye.